Hey everyone, I'm going to do a couple of things to set up this canvas a little better. So I want to make sure that when I color the background that it does not go over the border, so that when like stickers or prints are made of this piece that uh, it's transparent around the edges there. So I'm going to set this up. I'll try to figure out the best way here. I guess rectangle would be the easiest, right? Yeah, that's pretty easy. So, oh yeah, so just color fill. I have it set to color fill. Um, yeah, let's just do it this way. So I guess right here, oh, that's really easy. Very easy. And then I might just like manually erase the edges there. I want to make sure it's like a little bit bigger right here. I might extend that a little bit more like that. Right there. And then I can manually erase out the edges. So that'll be a good way to do it. Okay. So that's a pretty good setup already. So I'll just have this, what do I call this? I'll call this BG. I guess I'll just call it BG. BG. Now I want to make sure that there is another layer above it, and I'll group those together so that we will treat BG as, how do I want to group them. There we go. Okay. So I'll call this BG group, and then this one will be linked to it as a clipping mask, so that if I were to paint all over it, it would not go outside of the edges. So now I can just get a color like that. Now, yeah, it won't go outside the edges. So now I'm going to return back to coloring here, and I did find a tool that's similar to the lasso fill. Now if I go freehand here, notice my selection at the bottom is called color fill. I'm going to use my finger to get the lasso there. Now the main difference between this and Ibis Paint, Krita, Clip Studios, Lasso Fill is that you have to close it. So you need two strokes. So I gotta make the border, and then let's say I stop here. You have to actually close. So I hit that gray dot, and then I close it. So it's a little bit slower than the old process, but just barely. So I don't know if Procreate will ever improve that in the future, but another thing you can do too is like just tap around the edges so that you get a perfect border. I could draw like that. See what happens. Does it loop around? No, it does fill the whole thing, so that's good. And notice the marquee stays there, but I can keep drawing. There, see? Pretty good. It's pretty good. It's like, and then, I can just tap the edges. So it's pretty, I would say it's pretty smooth. The fact that you can tap the edges is an improvement over the normal lasso fill tools that I've used. So just kind of imagine where the straight lines are. Ah, you know what? Because I'm treating it like a big selection that I'm just slowly making bigger. So if I get used to this, it actually could be more efficient than the original lasso fill. Now I didn't quite finish the color, so I'm gonna just clean out the edges here, and I want this to be really clean as I want the edges to be really clean, so that when I do paint them, I don't have to correct them. So this part I'm gonna take my time on, but the line art is not done, so I think I want to make sure my Bluetooth is off too. Is my Bluetooth off? Ooh, hold on. Well, that's not good. I'm gonna have to see, because the Bluetooth is on. It might be messing up the audio quality, and I guess I'll just let this video rock. Actually, I don't know if I'm connected to a Bluetooth device. Let's see. Am I connected to something? Apple Pencil connected. I'm not connected to the car, which is good. That's like the main thing. I don't want to be connected to my car because it messes up the audio quality if I'm connected to the car. So I'll just check on the audio quality after I'm done recording this video, and just make sure like everything's good. Because if it's not good, I don't even want to upload it, you know? Okay, so before I get carried away, like this is already pretty good base. And we're going to paint based off of this color. But we're going to finish the line art. So we're going to go to draw 5 here, keep our color black. Go back to Opus Inker 1, which is my brush. My inking brush. And we'll finish inking this here. Now my flow, we're going to try to keep it loose. And again, we want to prevent zooming, so we'll keep zooming to a minimum. Oh, so make sure when I close Uber here. Yeah, we'll exit out of Uber because I don't need to be waiting for Uber calls right now, because after this I'm going to go to dinner. It is my mom's birthday, so she invited me to, not dinner, but actually lunch before I go to work. So lunch and then work. Yeah. Okay, so got the double tap to switch to erase. And I want to make sure the lines... okay, so the main thing was the hands. Now, St. Joseph's left hand is too small. So I do like the pose that it's in. I don't know if I should just blow up, because I think Jesus' hand size is fine. But maybe here's what I'll do. Instead of color fill, we'll turn that off. And we'll just do it like that. See if we just blow up his hand a little bit, and then we'll like kind of fix the lines. I want it to match the size of his other hand. Does that look right? Maybe a little bigger. Whoa, I didn't even know you could do that. Okay. That looks okay, this angle right here. So then I'll just kind of go in and fix some of the lines. We'll just kind of erase. And then we'll thicken the borders of Jesus as well. Zoom out a little bit here. Now I'm in the part where I don't want to rush, because we've set up the whole thing, we've done a few sketch layers, and I just want everything to look clean and polished now. Now we're not quite at like the final polishing stages, but just enough where we want to slow down. And this is something I learned at work. You don't like, there's a certain time, like there are times when you want to be time efficient and you want to like move quickly, and there are times when you want to focus mostly on accuracy. Now accuracy should always be the focus, but if you've reached a point in any skill where you can do something with 100% accuracy, for example, think of a child learning how to walk. Now, or talk. When you're an adult, you're probably at a point where you can walk and talk with pretty much 100% accuracy. I mean, a lot of us will stumble over our words, and then I'm sure with more practice and like speech, you could maybe come to a point where you're you're no longer stuttering like I am, no longer saying things like and like and thinking out loud, but being able to formulate your sentences in such a way where you're prepared as you're saying it, and you just don't stumble over your words. So, I mean, of course, there's no limit to how skillful you can be in anything. But for the most part, if we speak the English language and we practice it, we understand it. We can understand it without thinking, and we can understand it and speak it fluently. We're becoming fluent in a language. And why am I saying this? Well, I'm talking about speeding up by slowing down. Now, oftentimes when we've reached a certain point of competency in the language, we won't really practice anymore. Like, and then we start to be, I don't want to call it complacency, but rather competency, just enough competency where it's like, okay, I have what I need with this language, and I don't need to become like a master literary figure or author or oratorian, orator, speech guy, in order to get what I need out of the English language. Now, that pinky is way too small. So when you have a certain competency in something, then you can focus on increasing your speed or efficacy or strength or something. But when you don't have a certain level of competency in something, you just want to focus on accuracy. You want to focus as much as you can on not messing up. Now, for me, a big one that is like easily seen is handwriting. Right? That's one where you can easily recognize, has this person practiced their handwriting. Now, my handwriting is not very good. Like, even though I'm an artist, it's just not something I have practiced very much. But I know if I spend the time, I can improve the accuracy. The letter A, I can improve it over and over. Maybe write it this way, and then there are certain people who are like so great with their handwriting where they can paint perfectly straight lines, and then they end up doing the lettering on stores and paintings, and you wouldn't even believe that's hand painted. There's some guy I saw on Instagram who like does professional paint typography. I think that's the right word. And it's like the lines are so straight that it looks like a machine did it. Like, it looks like it's printed. Um, and even the curves and the angles are so perfect. And that just comes with practice, and it comes with focusing on accuracy in a certain thing. You have this aesthetic or goal that you want to reach toward, and then you just keep practicing, keep avoiding mistakes, and keep like trying to perfect that skill. Um, so for me, when it comes to line art like this, I really enjoy this process of slowing down, taking care of every line. Speaking of, I do want to move this thumb because when I repositioned it, it kind of like the angle changed a bit. So we're gonna move it here. There we go. And it comes to a point where, obviously I don't want to overdo anything. We want to do just enough that the story is told. Like, we want to be time efficient with this. Uh, of course, this is a religious work, and I'm putting this up for sale, but I'm not getting paid directly for this. But I do want this to be at a certain level of personal standard of beauty. I do think the Holy Family is one of the most beautiful things that we can recognize and honor and venerate in the church. Saint Joseph, Mary, and the child Jesus, or even Mary and the adult Jesus. But Joseph only really shows up when we're thinking about the child Jesus. That's the only time he's shown in the Bible. So, we can assume that when Jesus, growing up in his personal trade as a carpenter, that he was training Jesus, and then eventually Jesus kind of geared more towards teaching, and even as a child he was teaching in the temple. So I'm sure Joseph and Mary were well aware, well, Mary especially, but Joseph must have been well aware of Jesus' perfection and his divine qualities. But he was still Jesus' dad. I'm sure Jesus still called him Abba. And he must have trained him, and Jesus' human body, as even though he was perfect and divine in spirit, and probably did not make he definitely never committed any sin. But did he stumble? Did he ever smack a hammer to his thumb? Was he perfect in his human crafts, in his human endeavors? Did he stumble? Did Jesus ever stumble while walking? That's like a big question I have. And I would imagine that he did, because he subjected himself as God to the limitations of having a human body. So as a baby, even though he had his divine nature, I'm sure he cried. I'm sure he cried for food. I'm sure he tripped while learning to walk. He, as a baby, probably did not know how to walk. Like, I would imagine that the God man, that Jesus in his divine nature, submitted himself to those parts of humanity. God chose to do so. That's what we believe as Catholics. So this is why I really like this image of Joseph and Mary holding Jesus, who is God, and teaching him how to walk. Like, imagine that. This is God, and you're teaching him how to walk. Because God decided, I want to try, not try, but I want to come down and be human. I want to be human with you, to live in this imperfect world in a life of suffering and pain and sin, and just get the whole full experience. Now, one might think, or one might, without the context of the resurrection, one might think, well, that didn't end well. You showed your divinity, and you taught everyone about your precepts of love and your rules and ordinances, and people were disobedient, and you have to forgive them for being so disobedient. and then you were just killed. Everyone hated you, and it did not end well. Not everyone hated you, but uh, people of upright standing in society, like the Pharisees and the Romans, they hated you for being your own king. You know, your authority figure, speaking with the authority of God. You blasphemer, you know, things like that. Let's see here. Where's Jesus' fingers? So I don't know. This image is so endearing to me. Any image of the Holy Family where they're like guiding Jesus or they're protecting Jesus. It's like, did he need protection? Yes, because he chose to. He chose to be human. He chose to live this experience. So us as children, in all our full vulnerability, um, we are the same. We are still children, even as adults, still children because we have human limits. Like, if I could absorb the whole wisdom of universe, not only absorb it, but like I wish I could have absorbed it in the past. You know, I wish I never made any mistakes. I wish I didn't have limitation of intellect. I wish I knew it all and had perfect accuracy in all my actions. And and then the question arises, linked to the question of the problem of evil. Like, why should I have had the opportunity to fall and to falter? Why couldn't I have been perfect from the get go? Why were we designed that way? And for those of you, I mean, who like me are great sinners, who have made so many mistakes, costly mistakes in life, and now having to make up for them, and constantly having to make up for them because I can never be perfect, or can I? I mean, that's something I've thought about too, where, um, we should not underestimate the level of perfection that we can reach as people. Practice makes perfect, and our minds are geared toward achieving that perfection. We want the greatest good for ourselves, um, like deep down, we want it. We want perfection. Um, and here we are, Joseph, carpenter, probably not like extreme. I mean, we know that he was not super wealthy. We know he had to. He probably, he had a home. He had to escape to Egypt. He had to escape from Herod. He was a normal citizen, a layman, not a rabbi, not a teacher or a Pharisee or a scribe by any means. Who knows if Joseph could read? Maybe, I mean, I'm sure. I don't know. We don't know how educated he was. Maybe he could, but had enough skill to provide for his family as a craftsman. And Mary, as far as we know, a Jewish woman, young, uh, low in social stature, I'm sure. Um, yeah, like, this is a humble family. Like, I know that when we draw them in our iconography, we in order to honor and venerate them, we will draw them in their heavenly majesty. But here I want to draw a scene in their humanity. Like, I want to draw like this. These are just regular people, a regular family, but loving, regular but very loving, extraordinary in virtue. But as far as like the things that are glorified in the eyes of man, often wealth, riches, fame. Maybe they have their fame now, but only because they were so humble. Because all three of them submitted themselves to the will of God and said, and there were things that they did not understand. Each of them, like Joseph, he was going to divorce Mary, and then he had a dream, and the angel had to tell him, hey, don't divorce Mary. There's something greater than here that you might not understand yet, but let's follow the will of God. Mary too, I mean, approached by the angel Gabriel and said, you will conceive of the Holy Spirit, and this is going to be the Messiah. This is going to be a blessed child. And she reflected on those words and said, okay, I submit to the will of God. Even Jesus, perfect as he was, in the Garden of Gethsemane, asked his Father, um, let this cup pass me by. And said to his mother at the wedding of Cana, my hour has not yet come. And then was convinced by his mother, well, do the miracle here. These people need your help. Um, Jesus able to be convinced, not because he's not divine and does not have the will of God, but showing that he, like God, is merciful and not necessarily bends to our will, but rather has love for his children, has love for the people he loves, and that's really what exemplifies them. That's what makes them great. It's love. It's the love for their brothers and sisters, um, love for their immediate family, but also love for the family that they were endowed to to take care of, which is all of us. And all of us can afford to say, hey, I want to be adopted by you, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I want to be adopted into this family, of this perfect family of virtuous, heroic love. Not rich or wealthy, not famous when they were alive. Certainly they are now. But again, not because they sought a life that glorified themselves. And the only reason they are glorified to begin with is because they all relied on the Heavenly Father. Yeah, and remember, Jesus, in his divinity, Jesus who was God, multiple times in the Bible said, I know the Father. There are things that the Father knows that can only be known through me, or I don't know. He in his divinity clearly showed that he, even in union with God, was still subject to his Father. These are the mystery of the Trinity, the mystery of the Incarnation. These are things that I as a layman, I as a regular guy cannot fully explain. I just kind of say what I know, what I've learned, what I've heard from bishops and priests. Just kind of attempt to regurgitate what they know. But still, I'm changed. I'm transformed by grasping at least some of its beauty, at least some of its mystery, and that's all we really need as Catholics. Now, if you're not Catholic and you're just listening to this because you like art, okay, well, I'm sorry that I'm speaking about my faith, but this is what I love. I'm drawing the Holy Family, and I love them, and not in the sense that I can do anything to serve them, maybe to serve Jesus by following the Father's will too, but love them in the sense that I honor their example, and I want to follow their example, and I want to be unified with this family through Christ Jesus. So, guys, honestly, as religious as I'm getting in these videos, this is kind of how my life is going. Like, I'm still an artist, yes, but again, it's because of the many sins that I've committed, because of this desire to be humble before God. I don't want to have the pride of life anymore. I don't want it. And I just want, like, I never want to go about this life saying, oh, I'm a holy man too. It's only because of God that I can be good. And that reliance and that trust is what I need. I cannot succeed in anything without it. And indeed, we cannot exist without it. So why should I have any pride or arrogance saying I can do something on my own? Now, certainly I can decide, I can make decisions. I do have free will. But it's when I submit to the rules, the ordinances, the statutes, the laws of nature, that, doing good things, and what do we define good to be? Well, things that make us happy, things that give us abundance, cooking, making, planting plants, and taking care of our families and making sure people have a good life, alleviating suffering. Those things are good. Those things are easily defined as good. And we want to be doing those things. That said, I can continue reflecting on this stuff forever. I do have to go soon. I gotta head to lunch with my mom. I'm gonna keep cleaning up the color here, but I think I pretty much got done with the line art. It's something I might be able to improve a little bit more, but honestly, this looks quite good. Yeah, I like this. Maybe a little bit more definition on, like, Mary's dress here. Yeah, this is fine. Maybe a little bit more here. That's good. So now I think I can improve a little bit on the borders. We'll go back to the color fill tool, freehand color fill, which I really like. I'm gonna use my finger here to use my finger here to grab that color, and then we'll kind of get in here and finish the fill. I'm going to be going back and forth between the selection tool and the brush tool. Oh, where am I? Oh, I'm on Opus Inker. I need to be on Opus Color. There we go. Ooh, there is a scratch on the iPad. Oh, no, that's not a scratch. I thought there was a scratch on the iPad. Let's make sure we use the fill to fill the whole thing there so that we don't miss any marks. So this part is it's just another one of those things where I want to speed up to slow down. I'm going to slowly... Now, at this point, I do care about zooming in because I want to make the base color fill like really right on the borders and just not have any flaws. So now this one, I mean, we can strive for perfection. I think it's okay at this point in time, because the way I paint, I use my strokes everywhere, and I just want to make sure that we're being accurate. Now this is just a matter of time, not too much thinking when I'm doing this. Just going around the borders here, making it clean. Okay. So my Procreate workflow is improving as I do these pieces one by one. Do these videos one by one, and this is what I want. This is my goal with this series of videos. I don't need obviously I don't need a whole lot of views. I want to try to keep my mindset so that I'm not looking for views. Obviously I would love to have 1 billion views and make $1 billion from ad revenue, but more importantly, I want to pursue perfection. I want to pursue magnanimity in this work, not to honor myself, but to glorify God and the saints. Glorify God and venerate and bring honor to the saints and Jesus Christ. And I want my faith to be really imbued into my work. If I don't do that, I feel like I will be a failure, because I believe that the purpose of all things is to glorify God, that all things in nature and in this world are meant to give God right praise. And what does that mean? I mean, for those who are not religious, it sounds like, oh, you want to subject me to that? Like, are you trying to force that down my throat? But no, rather it's possible to gently guide people to say that, hey, we can take a look at our feelings, we can take a look at our desires, and understand that there are trajectories and patterns and laws of the universe and laws of morality even that we are stumbling toward, using our ways of knowing, like the scientific method, like language, things that are developed by evolution, our computers and our tools, all of us stumbling toward something satisfying, something pleasing. And eventually, follow that route, and you come to an encounter with the encounter between finiteness and infiniteness. Something I think about is Conway's Game of Life. It's this computer program that simulates the randomness of nature, chaos theory, and order, and the nature of those things. Oh, there's a piece right here. I'm going to just color that in now, so that something like that, so that I remember to ink that later. I can kind of play with the border here. Go back a little bit. Yeah, I think this is fine. I'll talk about Conway's Game of Life a little more in the future, probably. But anyway, I think this is good for now. That was a great recording. The line art looks good, the base color looks good, and we're going to start really developing this. We're going to figure out some colors to put in. But this is pretty much the basis of how I set up my illustrations. I think overall it looks pretty good. So we'll stop here, and I'll talk to you guys later. God bless. Bye-bye.